Right now on Morning News Now, we are just over 2 weeks from Election Day. Vice President Harris and former President Trump are pulling out all the stops in critical battleground states. Harris celebrated her 60th birthday with 2 church visits in Georgia, while Mr. Trump attempted to troll his rival by working the fry cooker during a campaign stop at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. We have the latest from the campaign trail, including the results of a new NBC News poll focused on the issues as more voters head to the ballot box. Plus, preparing for an attack. This morning, the U.S. is investigating the apparent leak of 2 top-secret documents about Israel, including possible Israeli preparations for an attack on Iran. What officials are saying about the post on a popular social media app with the Middle East on edge. Also this morning, Halloween might just be 10 days away, but if you're planning to travel for the holidays, you might want to buy those tickets sooner rather than later. The spike we're already seeing in some airfare prices, and when experts say they could jump even higher. And the New York Liberty reigns supreme as the queens of the hard court. We're breaking down the historic overtime classic that's bringing a basketball championship to New York for the first time in more than half a century, even though they beat my Minnesota Lynx. Congratulations to the Liberty. Good morning. Good to have you with us on a Monday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. We begin this hour with the final sprint to Election Day, which is now just 15 days away. Both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are kicking off the week with a battleground blitz following a weekend of campaigning in key swing states. Yesterday, VP Harris spent her 60th birthday in Georgia, where she attended a church service in Atlanta. The vice president spoke about the importance of faith and urged community members to vote for her. As for Mr. Trump, he spent the weekend in battleground Pennsylvania. On Sunday, the former president put on a McDonald's apron and served up some French fries at the fast food restaurant for pre-screened supporters. But it was his comments a day earlier that got more attention. During a rally, Mr. Trump attacked Harris using an obscene remark, which she later criticized in an interview with Reverend Al Sharpton on MSNBC.
We can't stand your ass, Vice President. The worst. You're the worst, Vice President. Kamala, you're fired.
It demeans the office. And I have said, and I'm very clear about this, Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. He has not earned the right.
We've got a team standing by to talk all things election and so much more. We start things off with NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns and NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. Good morning to both of you. Dasha, let's start with you. Another weekend of controversial remarks by former President Trump. Not only did we hear that profane personal attack on Harris, but Mr. Trump also made a few other questionable comments while in Pennsylvania. Tell us, what did he have to say?
Yeah, Joe, good morning. At that same rally in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, the former president kicked off that rally with a 12-minute monologue about the famed hometown golfer Arnold Palmer. He talked about him and his history, and then that monologue took somewhat a bizarre turn, and this is morning television, so I will put it this way. He discussed the late Palmer's anatomy and reactions to Palmer in the locker room showers. He also spent the weekend making some retail stops, including at a McDonald's in the suburbs outside of Philadelphia, where he tried to push his unsupported claims that Vice President Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's when she was in college, as she tells that story. And he, worked the fry cooker, he worked the drive-through, and this is all happening, Joe, by the way, in the critical state of Pennsylvania that could be the state to turn this election, Joe.
Yeah, that could be the one we're waiting for days later. So, Ali, let's bring you in here. We haven't talked much about religion on the campaign trail this year, but Vice President Harris spent this weekend at church in Georgia. Talk about her efforts to try and court religious voters.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. I was in Atlanta over the weekend as Harris was there on Saturday holding a rally. And then yesterday, as you mentioned, she attended these 2 church services that were attended mostly by Black voters who she encouraged to go and vote for her. And it's worth noting, too, that her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, also attended a church service, but that was in Michigan. And for Harris, this is a bit outside of the norm. We know that she is a practicing Baptist, but she doesn't really talk much about her religion. We know that she regularly consults her pastor, asks him for guidance. In one instance that she did that was after the president called her and told her that he was going to step out of the 2024 race and really pass the baton onto her. But we are seeing the Harris campaign use these church services, use this effort that they call Souls to the Polls to sort of indirectly respond to accusations by former President Trump that Harris doesn't care about certain religious groups. Remember, we heard him last week say that because she skipped the Al Smith dinner, which is a typical campaign stop for candidates, instead she pre-recorded a video and sent that into the event, he suggested that she didn't care about Catholics. And so we're seeing the Harris campaign use these services to sort of in an indirect way respond to former President Trump. And in one of those services over the weekend, she took a veiled swipe at him again, talking about him, but not by referencing his name, Joe.
Allie, let's look forward. We know that Harris is continuing her battleground tour today. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, that's the blue wall. She's going to be joined by former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney again. What can we expect there? I mean, how much realistically does her campaign think these Republican supporters give her a boost?
Yeah, the 2 of them campaigning together certainly is notable when you think of Cheney's background and really what she brings to this. Remember, at one point, she was the #3 House Republican. She's very conservative. But remember, she was also essentially ousted from her role because of her opposition to former President Trump. And she has now said that she is willing to do anything to prevent him from getting back into the White House because she, in her words, quote, wants to put country over party. We saw them campaigning together in Wisconsin last month. And today, they're going to be hitting those critical blue wall states. They're going to be going to the suburbs of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, trying to target those anti-Trump Republicans who may feel left behind by their party. And the gut check here, Joe, is that the Harris campaign doesn't expect like a mass wave of Republicans to come and vote for Harris. But because the race is so tight, especially in those key swing states, they think that even a small portion of those Republicans voting for Harris could really move the needle enough for a Harris victory.
And Dasha, for Mr. Trump, we know he's heading to another swing state, North Carolina. What's he expected to do in this visit to a state that could also be very important to his election chances?
Yeah, Joe, and it's a state, by the way, that Republicans have held since Obama last won it in 2008, and then it's been red really ever since. But this time around, it really is in play. So the former president is headed there today. He'll have 3 campaign stops across the state. He's going to start in Asheville, which, of course, was devastated by Hurricane Helene. He'll tour that damage and devastation there, Joe.
All right. Dasha and Allie kicking us off this hour. Thank you both. Let's bring in NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray for a closer look at a new national NBC poll asking voters which policies would make them more or less likely to support a candidate with just over 2 weeks until Election Day. Mark, good morning. So some of the most popular policies among the dozen tested in the poll were those aiming to address high costs, speaking to the importance of the economy in this election. Tell us more about what voters are looking for from the candidates when it comes to the economy.
Yeah, Joe, the most popular policies of the 12 that are polling in that testing were expanding oil and domestic oil and gas, with 67% of voters saying that they're more likely to support a candidate who backs that. Next on the list was a child tax credit for newborns, giving up to $6,000. That's something that Vice President Kamala Harris has proposed on the campaign trail, with 64% of voters saying they're more likely to support a candidate who backs that. And Joe, it shouldn't be a surprise that the economic issues are the ones that are the most popular when more voters say that the economy is their top concern in this election.
And Mark, while certain economic policies could move voters toward a candidate, the survey also finds that election denialism can actually turn them off. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance recently said, quote, "No, not by the words I would use. Did Trump lose the 2020 election?" What did the people who responded to the poll have to say about this? Could this have an impact on the Trump campaign and on this election?
Yeah, Joe, this was the most unpopular issue that our poll ended up surveying of the 12 that were measured, with just 18% of registered voters saying that they're more likely to support a candidate who believes that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and with 52% of voters saying they're less likely to support such a candidate. So absolute kryptonite on the campaign trail, Joe.
Mark, another huge issue, abortion. The poll found that voters far less likely to back candidates who support the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe versus Wade. According to the poll, what's the split there, and how much could this move the needle for Vice President Harris? We know it's been a huge issue in the last 2 years in other elections.
Joe, it's a big motivating issue, and our poll ended up finding this was the second most unpopular issue in our poll for a candidate who who supports the Supreme Court overturning a Roe v. Wade. Just 30% of voters say that they are more likely to vote for such a candidate, and then again, 52% saying they're less likely to vote for such a candidate.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Early voting continues to roll out across the country. Today, people can head to the polls in 8 more states, plus 2 additional municipalities in the battleground state of Michigan. Detroit was the state's first city to start early voting on Saturday. Today, voters in Canton Township, that's a Detroit suburb, and East Lansing, the home of Michigan State University, can also cast their ballots. It's the first presidential election where Michigan voters can vote early in person. NBC's Julia Jester will be spending a lot of time in Michigan between now and Election Day. She joins us from Detroit. Julia, so far we've seen record voter turnout in states like North Carolina and Georgia last week. How are things looking in Michigan? I understand there are some key deadlines today that people need to know about.
Well, good morning, Joe. Here in Michigan, early voting is a new offering for voters, so there's not much of a comparison point. But Detroit actually had nearly 2,000 voters come out on the weekend to cast their ballots in the first time early voting has been offered in the state. And as far as absentee ballot goes, statewide, around 1 million have already been returned. Now, we heard some voters over the weekend as to why they took advantage of this new opportunity to vote early here in Michigan. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, the United States does not have a day where we all just pause and vote and do our duty as citizens, and so I wanted to not have any conflict with my busy schedules.
I just graduated cosmetology school, so I am kind of busy with being a mom and getting into my regular life, and I just didn't want to forget because it's important this year.
Now, I spoke with the election director of Detroit, who said that answers like those are exactly why the city of Detroit decided to offer more days of early voting than is legally required. Now, in the midterms in 2022, voters approved a measure that would allow for early voting in the state, 9 days of it. So October 26th to November 3rd, it will be available statewide. Now, today, October 21st, you mentioned a few more townships are offering early voting. It's also a key day here in Michigan. It is the last day to register to vote online or by mail, and it is the day that the Secretary of State recommends the last day to mail in your absentee ballots to guarantee that it comes here by Election Day, Joe.
Kudos to you, Julia, for powering through the car alarm there. All right, let's talk about the results. We saw what's been dubbed the Red Mirage play out big time in 2020. So that's where the early results appear to show Mr. Trump taking the lead in several swing states. But once all the votes were counted, including those early votes that were cast, those states eventually turned blue. Remind us why this can happen and just what steps Michigan is taking to try and avoid any misleading early results this time.
Well, Joe, in 2020, because of the pandemic, you saw an unprecedented number of voters voting absentee. I was here in Michigan, and they were getting creative for in-person absentee voting, offering drive-through options to minimize human contact during the COVID pandemic. And again, in that midterm election in 2022, voters realized that they could perhaps help speed along the process of getting those absentee ballots processed to avoid what we saw in 2020 of a delay in reporting the results that really created those conspiracy theories about ballot dumps. So new in 2024, pre-processing is allowed, and that makes a huge difference. I was talking to a bunch of local clerks here in Michigan who say that they hope it's a game changer for them. It can allow election workers to come in perhaps on a weekend or during business hours to do those steps that are key, just time-consuming things when it comes to processing absentee ballots, opening the envelopes, removing the secrecy sleeves. All of those things that couldn't be done until Election Day before can now happen in advance, so we can get those results sooner on Election night. So between in-person, early voting, absentee pre-processing, and Election Day, there are different buckets to pull votes from, so it's not just a complete deluge right there at the 11th hour, Joe.
That is good to hear. Michigan is doing that. Of course, a reminder to our viewers, some states may do it differently, which means the results will come in at different rates in different places. Julia Jester, thanks so much for your reporting this morning. Appreciate it. As you just mentioned, now that we have early voting, some states are turning to early counting as well to avoid that election night chaos. But it's more the exception than the rule. NBC's Shaq Brewster has a look at the contrast when it comes to tallying those early votes between two battleground states, Michigan and neighboring Wisconsin.
They're two battleground states, Michigan and Wisconsin, whose late into the night vote counts 4 years ago descended into chaos, but only one has made major changes to help avoid this.
What we see here is essentially an increasing mob-like scene.
Protesters harassing poll workers in Detroit, scrambling to count the surge of absentee ballots.
My life was threatened. My staff's life was threatened.
Now, a new law in Michigan gives clerks a head start, allowing them to process absentee ballots well before Election Day.
I think it would show voters that the process is clean, that the process is open.
The changes will likely limit a so-called red mirage on election night. That's what happened in 2020, when many cities reported in-person voting results first, which tended to favor Republicans. But absentee ballots, which were more Democratic-leaning, took longer to count.
100% reporting didn't take place until Wednesday morning.
Trump's lead in Michigan vanished later that morning when Detroit's Wayne County reported nearly 150,000 votes. Predictable changes that were used to fuel false claims of illegal ballot dumps.
And then, boom, all of a sudden, I go from winning by a lot to losing.
With this new law, when will Detroit have its results posted?
We'll have our results posted by 11 o'clock news. 90 to 95% of our results will be posted by then.
In the week before Election Day, you'll actually see these envelopes opened and the ballots put into vote tabulators here in Michigan. While here in Wisconsin, you may see results come in later. That's because absentee ballots stored here cannot even be opened until Election Day.
Regardless of the efficiencies we make, just the sheer number makes us be one of the last people, if not always the last jurisdiction to report results.
In 2020, Milwaukee finished counting at 3:42 a.m., pushing Biden ahead in Wisconsin.
Do you have any projection for when Milwaukee will have its vote reported this year?
I don't. I think what we should expect, though, is not before midnight.
43 states allow clerks to process ballot envelopes before Election Day. But despite bipartisan efforts to change election laws, that doesn't include critical battlegrounds Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
If the American public wants to see our results sooner, there has to be legislative change.
A change to speed up the count in the most competitive states. Shaquille Brewster, NBC News, Detroit.
In other news now, over the weekend, historic rains and flash flooding hit the Southwest. This morning, multiple deaths are being reported in New Mexico, with search and rescue efforts now underway after that record rainfall. NBC News correspondent George Solis has the latest.
Southeastern New Mexico reeling after historic and deadly flooding hit Saturday. Torrential rains slamming Roswell with incredible force. An all-time record of nearly 6 inches in just a few hours.
Dang, Roswell. I'm gonna get on the roof, I think.
Nearly knee-deep murky waters at this banquet hall, turning a celebration into an evacuation. Emergency calls revealing the unfolding chaos.
Just got a call about a couple of kids stuck on a roof. Multiple houses over there with people stuck. They're up on their cabinets.
The New Mexico National Guard, alongside other agencies, rescuing even a dog stranded in floodwaters.
I am completely surrounded by water.
Watch this dramatic moment as Chaves County Sheriff Mike Harrington got on his car roof to survive the sudden floods as he warned others to get off the road.
That is the side of my truck, and there are multiple vehicles. Came into this not expecting that much water, and before I know it, I was swept off into this.
While water levels have started to recede in some parts, some areas remain dangerous. Officials warning residents to stay off the roads. Flood watches continue with more rain in the forecast.
I guess I'm not going that way.
Adding insult to injury in this deadly and already historic deluge. George Solis, NBC News.
Sticking with weather, let's take a look at your Monday forecast. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman has the latest on some surprisingly warm weather hitting parts of the country. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Great to see you. Yeah, it's summer-like across the country for most of us. We're looking at temperatures well above normal for this time of year, 10, 20, even 30 degrees above average, into the 70s and 80s. So shorts, sunglasses, definitely necessary today because lots of sunshine too across the country. Take a look at some of these numbers, again, soaring into the upper 70s to low 80s in some spots. Notice Minneapolis, 82 degrees. That's 26 degrees above normal for this time of year. Salt Lake City, you're warm too, 70 degrees, 79 in Kansas City, 81 in Oklahoma City. Louisville, 76. We're looking at Philadelphia, 81 degrees. That's 16 degrees above normal. So a warm day today. We're going to be chasing October records. We'll do that once again tomorrow with temperatures looking a lot like they do today. Temperatures into the 70s, 80s, well above normal once again. Again, could break some records. 81 in Rochester. That's 24 degrees above normal. This is on Tuesday. Boston, 68 degrees, 81 in Baltimore. Same story as you head further to the west. We're looking at Sioux Falls, 77, 19 degrees above normal, and Milwaukee, 71. We're going to cool it back down as we head towards Thursday and Friday. Back to more October-like temperatures into the 60s in New York City on Thursday, right around 60 degrees on Friday. And notice the 50s on Friday in Boston. Omaha, you're going to be into the 70s later on this week by Thursday and Friday. That's the big weather story today. As you look towards the rest of the country, we're looking at plenty of sunshine for most of us. We do have the chance for some rain, some strong to severe storms in parts of Kansas and Nebraska. Seasonal highs throughout the southwest. And then notice the west. We have lots of green and blue showing up there. That's a pretty potent storm bringing some rain, some mountain snow there. And that's going to continue working its way east on Tuesday. By Wednesday, more sunshine across the country. I'd like to point out New Mexico. We're clearing out today, so we're going to be drying out there. That's going to be the story over the next several days as well. Still warm in the northern plains on Wednesday, above average highs also in New England, the Northeast. Sun and clouds throughout portions of the West. And then as we head towards Friday, still really quiet. This is good news. We're looking at a nice, quiet weather pattern as we go throughout this week. On the Northwest storm, though, another one on Friday, and really pleasant, the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic. It was a nice weekend for many of us, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to see it again, at least in the Northeast. We'll have a really nice weekend once again.
Already looking at the next weekend is nice.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
I know we
The
need
best
rain,
news
though,
ever.
but it is good.
We do need rain,
yes.
but we'll take it. All right, Michelle, thank you so much. Sports news now. The LA Dodgers are going back to the World Series for the 4th time in 8 years. They beat the New York Mets 10-5 in Game 6 of the NLCS last night. A tough loss for fans of the Mets, but the Big Apple still has a chance for glory. The Dodgers will now face the American League champion New York Yankees beginning Friday night at Dodger Stadium. It is the 12th meeting between these two teams in the Fall Classic, but their first since 1981. Coming up, a new trend is taking over this wedding season. Why more newlyweds are saying I don't to traditional gifts and I do cash. But first, the U.S. is investigating an apparent leak of top-secret documents about Israel, what they say about the possibility of a planned attack on Iran. Next. We're back now with new details about an investigation by U.S. officials into the apparent leak of 2 top-secret documents. They seem to outline American spy agencies' intelligence on possible Israeli preparations for conducting a retaliatory attack on Iran. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So, do we know what type of documents these are? I mean, how were they posted, and what do they seem to show?
Hey, good morning, Joe. They showed up on a social media message board, and they're marked top secret, and they appear to be the fruits of an analysis by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. That's the lesser-known intelligence agency that analyzes all of American satellite data around the world, including some very, very secret images. And as you said, they appear to be an analysis of preparations for an Israeli strike on Iran. And so they're looking at things that are on the ground and then interpreting that for the people looking at the document, Joe.
Yeah, and a reminder to our viewers, Iran hit Israel with a barrage of missiles 3 weeks ago. We've been waiting for Israel to respond to that. What do these documents say about what kind of retaliatory response Israel could be planning?
Well, they said that it could come without further warning. You know, basically satellites only tell them so much, but the documents talked about significant preparations. They also said that Israel had appeared to have put its medium-range missiles in a defensive posture, but said that there's no sign that Israel is preparing a nuclear strike on Iran, Joe.
And Ken, you know, it's no secret the U.S. keeps an eye on both adversaries and allies. If these documents are genuine, just how serious is this leak for American intelligence in terms of size and scope?
In terms of size and scope, it appears to be not that serious because we're only talking about 2 top secret documents, assuming that that's the end of this leak. But just in terms of the implications, as we talked to our sources over the weekend, people are very, very concerned about this, Joe, because anytime a top secret document leaks, it potentially has significant damage to national security. It gives adversaries insights into the capabilities of U.S. satellites, and it means likely that there's somebody working with access to these documents who is prepared to leak them, and that is a very, very serious thing.
No doubt. All right, Ken Delaney and Ken, thank you so much. For the first time, Paul Whelan, the former U.S. Marine who was detained in Russia for more than 5 years, is speaking out about his experience. He was released nearly 3 months ago in one of the biggest prisoner swaps since the Cold War. He shared his story with NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Andrea Mitchell.
It was a homecoming more than 5 years in the making. Former Marine Paul Whelan, the longest held of 3 Americans wrongfully detained in Russia, finally back on U.S. soil. I sat down with him for the first time since his release in August. How are you doing?
5 years, 7 months, 5 days as a hostage in Russia in extremely poor conditions. It takes a toll.
Those harsh conditions, bad food, no medical care, sleep deprivation. Do you have flashbacks?
You know, I do, especially, and I see pictures of me in court.
Do you have trouble sleeping?
I do. The entire time I was being held hostage, the Russians interrupted my sleep. They always kept a light on, you know, in my cell 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day?
24 hours a day. If I see a bright light or anything like that, it reminds me of having a flashlight shined in my face.
Whelan was in Moscow for a friend's wedding in 2018 when Russian agents stormed his hotel room. He was charged with espionage. Did they try to make you give a confession?
They did several times. I was in Lefortovo prison. It's known for the shooting gallery, where they would take prisoners to shoot them.
As a Marine, Whelan had served 2 tours in Iraq. He was well-trained, resilient. But to Vladimir Putin, he was a valuable pawn for prisoner trades. While Whelan waited, the U.S. swapped a Russian drug dealer for former Marine Trevor Reed, and then a notorious Russian arms dealer, Victor Bout, for basketball star Brittany Griner. Both had served far less time than Whelan.
The only time that I really felt that I was abandoned was the second time that I was left behind. It was devastating to hear the news.
Did you ever think of suicide?
No, I was fighting too much. I knew I was a hostage. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of me committing suicide.
Were there moments of total depression and distress?
Yeah, I think the worst was when my dog died. That meant that when I got home, it wasn't going to be the same home that I left.
Now he's free, and when he arrived, a gesture from the president.
He took this flag, this lapel pin, off his lapel and put it onto my shirt. It cemented my feeling that, you know, America had not lost hope in me, and that, you know, the U.S. government had done what they said they would, bring me home.
Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
If you're feeling stressed about the election, you are not alone. So what can you do to help manage your mental health? We're sitting down with an expert right after the break. We're back now with a look at how the majority in the Senate could be decided by a very distinct voting bloc in a crucial swing state this year. Democratic candidate Ruben Gallego has now visited 20 of the 22 federally registered Native American tribes in Arizona. NBC News correspondent Von Hilliard joined him as he hiked down into the Grand Canyon to court the indigenous electorate in communities that historically feel alienated from the U.S. government.
The Havasupai tribe, tucked into the crevices of the Grand Canyon, its land and sacred waters renowned for this. Havasupai means people of the blue-green waters. The tribe here on the land more than 900 years before Arizona ever became a state, and now potentially crucial to electing its first ever Latino senator from the state, Democrat Ruben Gallego.
You win in Arizona by bringing as many people together to vote for you.
In August, a massive flash flood swept through the canyon and parts of the village, killing one person and damaging dozens of homes.
We were actually due to come before the flash flood that really affected the canyon.
The rushing waters, symbolic of the more extreme weather from climate change.
We have a diamond in the rough of the United States of America.
And it's why he's here with just 3 weeks until Election Day.
We don't have like street lights. We only have trail. We only walk from and to the store and back home in our village.
We hiked with Gallego 8 miles down into the canyon to the village.
We're visiting and trying to visit all the 22 federally recognized tribes, but this tribe lives and resides at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. So if you want to visit them, you want to talk to them about their tribal lands, their needs, their wants, you have to physically come down here.
Because the tribe is only down here at the bottom
Only
of the
down here at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, correct.
The indigenous vote helping tip the scale for Democrats in 2020 and 2022. The elections for president and governor both coming down to less than 17,000 votes. Native Americans make up about 5% of Arizona's population and historically favored Democrats.
It's always been Democrats. And mainly, I think tribal members really look at the issues with the environment.
One of those issues, uranium mining near the Grand Canyon that recently started again. There is staunch opposition within the village out of fears of irreversible spills that would taint the local waters and airborne contamination through inhalation, but also harm to the soil and food supply.
We have something really special here. But
that's the drinking water you guys rely on.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said he was going to help us.
Gallego is running to replace retiring independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema and taking on Republican Carrie Lake. She has also tried to court the indigenous vote, like Gallego marching last month in the annual parade of the Navajo Nation, the largest tribe in the state, a community that has expressed frustration for neglect from the federal government.
I don't blame them. Both parties in D.C. have, frankly, been not very good for the people.
In a state known for its independent streak, the likes of former Republican Senator John McCain held reverence here over his relationship with the tribal communities.
Everybody voted for him.
John McCain?
My grandparents, my grandparents, because he was a very good spokesperson.
Gallego, the Democrat from a very blue congressional district in Phoenix, is now taking steps, a lot of steps, to meet his state's expansive electorate.
You consider yourself a progressive. How do you describe yourself politically now?
Look, I think the same thing I've always been. I'm a fighter for Arizona. Sometimes that, takes me to different spectrums of the political world. But what happens, no matter what, is I'm always looking out first for Arizona, making sure that it gets what it wants and it needs and its representation.
Our thanks to Von Hilliard for that report. President Biden won Arizona by just 10,000 votes in 2020. That's less than a 1% margin in a state where Native Americans make up 5% of the population. It's a community that historically votes for Democrats. Now, most polls show an incredibly tight presidential race that could lead to days of uncertainty after Election Day. So as we draw closer to casting our votes, a growing number of Americans say the election is having an effect on their mental health. In a poll this year by the American Psychiatric Association, nearly 75% of respondents, you see the number there, 73%, said they are feeling anxious in the lead up to the election. Psychologists say it's normal for people to feel increased negative emotions during this time. So is there a way to keep those feelings in check? Joining us now for more is psychiatrist and author Dr. Gail Saltz. Doctor, good to have you with us. I mean, more and more we see politics as a huge source of stress in our lives. So what do elections like this, first of all, do to our mental and physical health?
Well, every time you affect mental health, you do affect physical health. We know this from rising cortisol levels and their effect on blood pressure, the cardiovascular system, et cetera. But mental health is health too. And this election cycle, I'd have to say that anxiety and stress levels are higher than previously. A lot of it has to do with a feeling of lack of control of the outcome and great uncertainty as we head into this election about what will be after the election. Those things drive anxiety. And in addition, instead of seeing the other people, let's say the people on the other side, as having different views, we've sort of villainized each other, right? With the rhetoric being very high. And so it feels like that person is bad or that person is evil and they will change my way of life. None of which may be true at all, but they do rise our anxiety levels a lot.
You know, there's this sentence that gets thrown around a lot every political cycle, that this is the most important election of your lifetime. And that might be true this time around, but that can also create even more stress. A recent NBC News poll shows that people now feel this election will have an even greater impact on their lives compared with the last election. What is leading to this increased stress? Why do we wrap ourselves up in this political anxiety?
You know, first of all, it does seem more divided. Let's say the nation seems more divided than in a long period of time. And that polarization, that feeling that other people have a view I don't even understand, it is so different from mine. And it feels like they may force me to live under their rules, as it were. That degree of polarization creates a lot of stress and anxiety. Now, the reality is these are people with different views, but they really may not be as polarized, depending on what you're speaking about, as you imagine. But it doesn't matter, because it's what we do imagine that drives anxiety.
Let's talk about some solutions, and I'm going to set up my question here with some research from Pew Research, which found voters are feeling significantly more exhausted, that's a word they use, angry, compared to hopeful when asked about politics. So let's find that balance. How do we find that balance between staying informed and also protecting our mental health? How do we remove ourselves from what's going around us, even if it's just for a little bit?
Well, that is the key, how to maintain that balance. And I would suggest that people do limit their news intake during this time. I'm not saying crawl under a rock and have no idea what's going on, but hey, if you spend 30 minutes max a day looking at a source that you feel comfortable with, that you trust, to update yourself, but you turn off the alerts on your phone, you don't scroll through social media, you don't constantly read and look at everything that's coming by because it is a repeat, it will help take down your anxiety levels. But there's a lot of other things that you can do as well. First of all, you do want to employ coping tools to help your anxiety level decrease during the day. Paced deep breathing, aerobic exercise, progressive muscle relaxation, doing things that actually relax your body, which will help relax your mind. Prioritize your relationships, which are a huge source of stress relief. And that means that even if you disagree with that person politically, put that aside. Say, hey, you know what? Let's not talk about that in this run up to the election. We disagree, and we can agree to disagree. But you matter to me, and I want to have you in your life. You see, anxiety goes up when the relationship is threatened, but you can keep relationships, even with people you disagree with, if you make that effort. And on the flip side of that, think about the golden rule. Don't say things about other people that you would not want them to say about you. If we could take the national rhetoric down in general, it would actually take the heat and the stress and anxiety down a lot. And I would also advise that catch yourself if you are what I call catastrophizing.
Yeah.
If you're thinking the nth degree of the worst case scenario possible, that's an imagination thing. I'm not saying it's 100% can't happen. That tiny bit of uncertainty is what keeps you anxious. So say, oh, that's me running away with the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Let me pull it back. I don't know that that will happen at all. Let me pull it back. And stay away from people who want to do that with you.
Some great advice. Dr. Gail Saltz, thanks so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Coming up, the holiday season is almost here, but we're already seeing a rise in the cost of airfare. What you need to know to avoid a holiday headache next. Welcome back. Even if you're still trying to pick out that perfect costume for Halloween, it's never too early to plan ahead for the busy holiday travel season. Experts are urging people to act sooner rather than later, with airfares expected to rise in the coming weeks. And just in case you need a little extra motivation, Thanksgiving prices are already 20% higher compared to this time last year. That's according to the travel booking company Hopper. Speaking of which, let's bring in Hopper's lead economist, Haley Berg. Haley, good to have you with us. So whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, which days will people save the most when booking right now?
If you're booking Thanksgiving or Christmas, the golden rule is flying on the holiday is going to save you the most, about $200 on average per domestic ticket, even more on international airfare. For Thanksgiving, the most important things the day you return, skip that Sunday, stay for the long weekend, come back on Monday, and you'll save about $170 per ticket. Christmas, if you can fly on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, you'll save about $200 per ticket. Come back on New Year's Eve, get ready to start the year at home, and that's how you maximize your savings.
You know, one time I did have to fly during the New Year, and it was cool seeing all the fireworks from the airplane, so it's not the worst thing in the world. I have to admit, I was looking at Christmas time tickets already, and it was already way higher than I expected. So what are your tips for snagging the best deals right now this year?
Number one, if you have not booked your Christmas and Thanksgiving air travel, book it now. Prices hit their lowest in the middle of October, and they're already starting to creep up as we head towards November. So you need to book now. If you're not ready to book Christmas, we get it. It's still a couple of months away. Wait and book on Travel Deal Tuesday. It's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. This year, it's Tuesday, December 3rd. It's the best day of the year to get a deal on air travel, hotels, rental cars. So wait, book your last minute trip on Tuesday, December 3rd. That's how you can maximize your savings. If you can't book right now, which is what we recommend, you'll get the best prices now compared to in the next couple weeks.
Here's something I've always wondered. Are there actually specific days when we should be on the lookout for the best deals?
Everyone wants a golden rule, a single day or time or way of searching for a flight that's going to get them the best price. The reality is that it depends so much on where you're flying out of, your travel dates, your destination. We recommend using a price monitoring tool at Hopper. We have one for free on our app. Essentially, you put in your destination and your dates. We monitor the price, and we send you a notification when prices are at their lowest point or if prices start to creep up. So don't try to follow the old myths of book on a Tuesday, book at 6 a.m., whatever they are. The best bet is let technology do the work for you to get the best deal.
All right. Haley Berg, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. A new trend is taking the wedding industry by storm this year. A recent study by the wedding website Zola reveals an overwhelming majority of soon-to-be newlyweds are asking for cash on their gift registries. And more than a third of those couples say they're planning to use that money to buy a new home. Bianca D'Alessio joins me now for more on this. She is a real estate broker and founder of the Masters Division at Nest Seekers International. Good to have you with us. So let's throw another stat out there. The Knot, which is a popular wedding site, says the number of couples asking for home funds on their registries has gone up 62% since 2018. I think I know the answer to this, but tell us, why is this becoming such a popular trend?
In order to save to buy that first-time home has gotten so much more difficult. And instead of requesting items for the home that a lot of couples do not have yet or their forever home, they want to engage their family and their friends in the home buying process, get them excited about it, and to help them start saving some money for that down payment.
They're like, great, I have 3 blenders and nowhere to put it.
Exactly.
Right. That same survey shows buying a home is the top priority for many newlywed couples. A lot of them are first-time buyers. Talk about the challenges that couples face, especially when they're trying to do this for the first time.
So it's not only the savings that's gotten so much more difficult. Rates have made it much more complicated for new entrants into the market to be able to buy those homes. And it's just gotten so much more competitive because inventory levels are so low across America right now. The purchase price and the starting level price point is much, much higher. So all in all, we're seeing much more competition in the market. Beyond that, we're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers are actually getting older as they're buying. So for these young couples who are just getting married who want to buy that first-time home, they're competing with first-time buyers who are 5 or 7 years older or have saved for that much longer. And so it's just making it that much more difficult.
And I feel like it's only going to get more competitive in the next year as the interest rates drop and more people go for it. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you want to try to make this as stress-free as possible, what are some of your tips?
To start the process early, to start saving early, to start having conversations with mortgage brokers, with real estate brokers, and to just start educating yourself on the market. Why this has gotten so stressful is because there's so much pressure to move quickly or to be competitive or to come in over ask or to give up contingencies. All these things are really big pressure points for a first-time home buyer. So starting the process early to get educated on what you can afford, where you can afford, what's important to you will allow buyers more time in the market. So when they see a deal or when they're ready to transact, they feel like they have knowledge on their side and they're ready to make an informed decision.
I think for some people, asking for cash on a wedding registry still feels weird. So if you are going to do this, what's the best way to describe it to your guests so that it feels like it's okay?
So I think with wedding websites now, there's a lot of storytelling that goes into how the couple met, why they chose their wedding venue. We're also seeing the same thing with registries. I'm working with a few clients right now who've actually taken to making videos about how stressful the home buying process has been and why they're wanting to engage friends and family in this cash registry for their home buying. So I think that's kind of a fun way to tell the story and to get people involved.
Good advice there. All right, Bianca D'Alessio, thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, the new queens of basketball, the overtime drama at the WNBA Finals, and the coronation nearly 3 decades in the making. That is next. We're back now with the newest queens of basketball. The New York Liberty are WNBA champions for the first time in franchise history. The winner-take-all Game 5 went down to the final seconds, with the Liberty outlasting the Minnesota Lynx at home in an overtime thriller. It's victory 28 years in the making. You see, the Liberty, they're one of the original members of the league, and they're finally getting that elusive championship ring after 6 trips to the finals. For more on all the excitement, we are joined by our friend, Kavitha Davidson. She is a sports writer and host of the podcast Sportly. Good to have you with us. I mean, what a matchup, what a series. This was the first time a Game 5 of the finals went into overtime. Seems like it lived up to the hype, right?
It absolutely did. It's the first time we've had 2 overtime games in a finals as well. Obviously, there's been some incredible late game heroics, and this, as you mentioned, is it's a huge deal for New York. They're an original team, and they were the last original team who was still in their hometown, who has not moved cities to win the championship. So this is a big deal for New York and a big deal for the WNBA.
So Kavitha, I might be a little bit biased. I'm from Minnesota, so my team, they were looking for a record 5th league title. I am kind of happy for the Liberty since they had not been there yet. There were, though, several calls from the referees drawing some criticism from coaches, players, fans on both teams. At the end of the day, though, this matchup brought excitement from start to finish. I mean, how do you think this series will be remembered?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the officiating has kind of been a problem all year, so that can't be overstated. Both coaches, Cheryl Reeve and Sandy Brondello, had issues after games 4 and 5 with the officiating. But this should be remembered for, for Jonquel Jones winning the MVP, for Sabrina Ionescu going ice cold in Game 5, but nailing that 3 to win it for the Liberty in Game 3, and for Breanna Stewart finally coming up with some huge free throws at the end there after missing on a few of those earlier in the series. So this is, there was so much action here, and this is exactly what the WNBA needed from this finals.
Yeah, and it was a great series that has been part of this historic season for the WNBA, thanks in part to the so-called Caitlin Clark effect. I mean, what does just this sheer excitement of last night's game tell us about the competition that has grown across the league and the excitement that is generated from coast to coast?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is a Caitlin Clark effect, but without her in these playoffs for the most part, and definitely without her in these finals, the ratings have been up more than 144%. We don't have latest ratings data yet, but as of last week, ESPN was reporting an average of 970,000 viewers, which, as I said, is over 100% increase from last year. And this sport is just going to continue to grow, and interest in the league is going to continue to grow, and it's great to see.
144%. That sounds pretty good. And this does not feel like it was like, oh, we had one season, Caitlin Clark, people were excited about it. This is like a movement, right?
This is, I mean, the WNBA is very happy to tell you this is not a moment, this is a movement. And while Caitlin Clark is absolutely a phenomenal and popular player, this has been building over years. If you look at year-over-year growth in data, this has been sustained and it's been staggering. And this is not going anywhere.
All right, now the unfair question. It would be impossible to have you on without asking for some predictions, even though we're just hours removed from this season. Do you have some way too early favorites for next season?
I mean, obviously, all eyes will be on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and to see if they can actually build a playoff contender around her and Aliyah Boston. I will say, though, this Liberty team, I mean, they don't really have any free agents. They're going to stick together. And as we see, the chemistry is phenomenal. So I would say look for the Liberty to vie for the repeat next year.
All right. Sounds good. Kavitha Davidson, always good to have you on with us. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. Right now on Morning News Now, the race for the White House taking a shocking new turn. Former President Trump serves up more than just fries in battleground Pennsylvania. The obscene insult hurled at Vice President Harris that's making headlines as she stumps with the stars in key swing states. We'll take you to the campaign trail in just a moment. Also this morning, scenes of chaos and terror after a ferry gangway collapsed on the Georgia coast over the weekend. It sent more than a dozen people into the water below, killing 7. What officials say went wrong as the investigation gets underway. Plus, we're watching your health this morning with a new look at how hitting puberty at an early age might increase a younger woman's risk for breast cancer. And the stage is set for a bi-coastal clash of the baseball titans, the Yankees and Dodgers, both punching their tickets to the World Series. Got a preview of the action coming up later in the hour. Let's begin this hour with the race for the White House. Campaigning entering the home stretch. The election now just 15 days away. This morning, both Vice President Harris and former President Trump are continuing to court voters in key battleground states. Comes after Mr. Trump made headlines over the weekend for a series of controversial comments that included a profane insult against Harris. NBC's Garrett Haake has the latest.
In a sign of just how important Pennsylvania will be to who wins this election, Donald Trump spent his entire weekend stumping across the Keystone State. And it was an unconventional weekend, from attending the Steelers game to working a McDonald's drive-thru window to a rally Saturday night that was outrageous and at times vulgar, even by Trump rally standards. Overnight, Donald Trump in Pittsburgh, taking in a Sunday night football game between the Steelers and Jets.
So if we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole damn thing, right?
The former president spending both days this weekend in the Keystone State, where polls show a dead heat. On Saturday night, Trump raised eyebrows at a rally at the birthplace of the late Arnold Palmer. Trump began with an extended tribute to the golf legend, including this vulgar aside.
This is a guy that was all man. When he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable.
At the same event, firing up the crowd by using profane language to attack Vice President Harris.
You have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had enough. We can't stand you. You're a vice president. The worst. You're the worst vice president. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here.
Harris responding on MSNBC.
The American people deserve so much better. What you see in my opponent, a former president of the United States, really is, it demeans the office.
But by Sunday morning, Trump taking a lighter tone.
Wait a minute, I spilled some.
Briefly working the fry cooker at a McDonald's outside Philadelphia, passing drive-through orders to customers pre-screened by his campaign. The former president greeting voters.
I made it myself. You're the best.
But also using the backdrop to claim, without evidence, that Harris isn't being truthful about her time working at a McDonald's while a college student.
She talked about the heat. It was so tough. She never worked at McDonald's.
With both campaigns blitzing Pennsylvania, Trump supporter Elon Musk also hitting the trail, announcing a daily $1 million giveaway for registered voters in 7 swing states who sign his petition in favor of free speech and the right to bear arms.
We're going to be awarding $1 million to
randomly to people.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro responding on Meet the Press.
I think it's something that law enforcement could take a look at.
No response back from Elon Musk or his PAC on that. Now, we may hear some more serious business later today when Trump visits Asheville, North Carolina, devastated by Hurricane Helene, to discuss the storm response there.
All right, Garrett, thank you so much. Turning to the Harris campaign now, the vice president is turning her focus to disenchanted Republicans. Today, she's stumping in several key swing states along with some star surrogates. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has a look at how she's trying to win over people to her side. Gabe, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Good morning. Vice President Harris will be on a media blitz this week, and she's taking more questions from voters at campaign stops. The Harris campaign sees suburban counties as key target areas for undecided voters, and today she's focusing on anti-Trump Republicans. Vice President Harris on a battleground blitz, trying to move voters on the margins in this razor-thin race. On her 60th birthday, visiting Atlanta churches, urging voters to choose compassion over chaos.
Make decisions through these next 16 days that will be about a statement about what kind of country do we want to live in.
Her campaign also highlighting Georgia's restrictive abortion law and blaming former President Trump for it.
Donald Trump still refuses to take accountability, to take any accountability for the pain and the suffering he has caused.
She's also bringing in star power to energize voters, including Lizzo, Usher, and Stevie Wonder. As polls show that she's struggling to win the support of black men. The vice president speaking out Sunday night.
Because why would black men be any different than any other demographic of voter? They expect that you earn their vote.
Former President Obama, who drew attention last month for implying black men may be hesitant to vote for a female candidate, also helping on the trail. This weekend, taking on Trump in Nevada.
You know, he's very quick to say to Kamala, well, you were vice president 4 years. Dude, you were president for 4 years.
And Harris is aiming to target another group of voters, Republicans, who may be hesitant about Trump. Campaigning today in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Joined by former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and hitting districts where Nikki Haley performed well. Her campaign also touting the support of former Trump administration officials. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham responding on Meet the Press.
To every Republican supporting her, what the hell are you doing? You're supporting the most radical nominee in the history of American politics.
That push for undecided voters this week, all the more urgent because so many key swing states have already started early voting. Also, former President Obama is scheduled to campaign alongside Harris for the first time Thursday in Georgia. Joe.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd to walk us through what to expect in this final stretch before Election Day. Chuck, good to have you with us. So roughly 2 weeks away now. What do each of these two campaigns need to do to just maximize their chances of winning?
Well, look, I think part of it is they need to spend their time focused on voters that are still persuadable, right? And there's two types of voters that are out there. There's those that are with you. You just have to persuade them to vote. And then there are those that are truly in that undecided category. And it's that voter she's going after right now. And Trump. They're both going after the same voter. It's a Republican who doesn't like Trump's behavior, right? Trump's trying to woo them by scaring them about Harris policies and her ideology. And Harris is trying to go after them by emphasizing Trump's character. I'll say this. If you look at it of which candidate is cooperating more with the other candidate's closing message, you have to be happy if you're the Harris campaign, because Trump's day-to-day behavior over the last week seems to be fitting with the closing message of Harris, which says, hey, he's a little unstable. He doesn't have it. He's a little off kilter. And then he goes off on some weird rant about Arnold Palmer, and it sort of reinforces the message she's saying, versus the other way, Joe, which is it's not as if Kamala Harris is out there advocating a whole bunch of progressive policies, which, of course, is the closing argument that Trump is making.
Let's talk about a challenge for Harris, something you wrote about in your most recent column, that President Biden's record is one of the biggest obstacles that VP Harris faces in her bid for the White House. We've seen her trying to address this with sort of this line of, well, VPs don't criticize their presidents. But what does she need to do to convince voters that her administration won't be a repeat performance, especially when so many things about the country right now are not seen positively by a good chunk of the country?
Well, look, I think she's been a little too vague. I mean, she has sort of said, hey, I'm going to be different, but how? Be specific. I think, for instance, on the border, she could be a little more direct in saying, hey, you know, and it's sort of a subtle way of distancing herself from the president. We didn't get this right. I'm not going to let this happen when I'm in charge. Right? She's not saying it was Biden's fault, but she's implying it, right, in saying something like that. And I don't know if she's leaned in exactly like that in a few other places, because, look, this administration is not popular. Hard stop. If this were a generic race, Joe, generic Republican, generic Democrat, generic Republican would have about a 5-point advantage. It's just sort of that's the frustration with this administration. So I do think a brighter line might be necessary, because that last voter, she's going after, might not like Trump's behavior, but also didn't like the Biden presidency.
In the most recent NBC News poll, the numbers showed that Mr. Trump's actually gained some support in core Democratic, like blue states. Now, it's not enough to come close to winning any of those states this year, but it still shows some voters are more favorable to him now compared with 2016 or 2020. What's going on here?
Well, I think that's a little bit of just the mainstreaming of Donald Trump inside the Republican Party. I mean, I think both in 16 and 20, you still had a lot of resistance of Trump inside the Republican Party. I think in this cycle, you're seeing those that resist Trump are no longer Republican. So I think if you're still sort of with the Republican Party and you live in a blue state, you're more supportive. But there's one other aspect of this, Joe, that makes that little nugget interesting. And I think it is, if Trump wins the presidency this time, the Electoral College, I think he's got a pretty reasonable chance to win the popular vote, because he's going to do better in the blue states.
That's a good point, and something we haven't seen over these last two elections here. The thing people keep asking me about who aren't in the news business, they're just asking me how long till we know the results. Well, there's many things they're asking, as you know, but they kind of want to get a feel for the week of. And I keep telling them, I think this is going to be several days. I think it's not going to be till the end of the week till we have an idea. What's some of the advice you're giving people right now to prepare for what is likely going to be more than an election day?
I say it this way, very simply. It's a two-state race, North Carolina and Pennsylvania. And if one of them wins them both, it's not going to be a long week. If they split the two, it's going to be a long week. That's about the simplest way I go about doing it these days, Joe. Look, there are other ways, but it's those. If those two states go to the same candidate, short election week. If they split them, long election week.
This is our new Florida, basically.
Yeah, that's about the best I can come up with.
I like it, Chuck. I'm going to use that. Chuck Todd, good to have you on this morning. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Now to the latest in the Middle East. Israel launched new attacks on Lebanon overnight after a weekend that saw a drone launched toward Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's own home. And back here in the U.S., officials are investigating an apparent leak that revealed top-secret intelligence on Israel's plans to hit back at Iran. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley is in Beirut and has the latest.
Well, it's been another violent and loud night here in Lebanon as Israel maintained its bombing campaign across the country. And many of those injuries are brought right here to one of Beirut's largest hospitals. U.S. officials are trying to figure out how a pair of top-secret documents from American spy agencies were apparently leaked online. The documents describe Israeli plans for a retaliatory strike against Iran for the volley of missiles it fired at Israel earlier this month. They appear to be real, according to two U.S. officials. House Speaker Mike Johnson calling the leak very concerning.
There's some serious allegations being made there.
It comes after Israel released video footage of slain Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar that it says shows him walking through tunnels underneath Gaza with his family, just one day before last year's October 7th attacks. Here in Beirut, it was another sleepless night after Israel once again bombarded southern neighborhoods. This time, targeting branches of a foundation the Israelis say Iran uses to finance Hezbollah. After a month of these relentless attacks, the streets of Beirut are teeming with people who have fled areas where Israel has been targeting Hezbollah. They're mostly Shiite Muslims, but some have found sanctuary here. This church reached across the sectarian divide, hosting about 70 people from over a dozen families, almost all of them Muslims. For Pastor Sami Daher, Lebanon's latest war is helping to heal old wounds.
Before they knew us, they don't trust us. But when they come and they see our love and the way we serve them and we don't want anything from them, they start loving us.
We've just heard that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is leaving again for the Middle East, his 11th trip. He's going to be trying to ink some kind of deal to free those remaining hostages in the Gaza Strip and maybe make peace in Gaza and here in Lebanon.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. We turn now to a devastating scene off the coast of Georgia, where multiple people died trying to board a ferry boat on Saturday. Crowds were gathering for a fall celebration on Georgia's Sapelo Island when the ferry dock collapsed. NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar is on the ground in Georgia and has the latest. Priya, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it was a disastrous scene here near Sapelo Island, about an hour south of Savannah. Dozens of people fell into the water after a ferry gangway collapsed. 7 people were killed, all of them senior citizens, ranging in age from 73 to 93. Another 8 were injured. And this morning, authorities are saying it was a tragic ending to what should have been a joyous celebration. We do want to warn you that some of the images you're about to see you may find disturbing.
This morning, new details on a catastrophic ferry gangway accident.
I heard something pop, and I reached for the railing. And when I reached for the railing, I saw the railing was gone.
At least 7 people were killed after a ferry ramp collapsed on Georgia's Sapelo Island, officials say, plunging at least 20 people into the water below.
Guests were in the process of loading the ferry, the Anne Marie, which was tied up to the dock.
Passengers were boarding the ferry and headed back to the mainland when the gangplank collapsed in the middle, officials say. Hundreds were gathered on the small island about 60 miles off Georgia's coast, many there to celebrate the Gula Geechee community of black slave descendants.
And it's a day of remembrance to remember our descendants.
Authorities say typically under 100 people daily come and go from the island that's only accessible by boat. But this weekend there were roughly 700 people on the island. Marsha Armstrong was on the gangway and heard the metal buckling before she plummeted into the ocean.
Something told me to stop fighting, stop kicking, and lay on your back. I laid on my back, and all of a sudden, God sent me an angel, and she grabbed my hand, and she pulled me to shore, and she said, "I got you."
And authorities say they're not aware of any complaints regarding this ferry gangway, but they say it's too early to speculate on the cause of this tragic incident. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources say they are investigating this collapse, but they say they don't believe it has anything to do with a boat hitting the dock. Joe?
All right, Priya, thank you so much. Authorities in Houston are investigating a deadly crash this morning. Multiple deaths are being reported after a helicopter struck a radio tower. Officials say all 4 people on board were killed, including a child. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Goss joins us now with the latest on this. Stephanie, good morning.
Joe, good morning. You know, officials are calling this a tragic loss of life, adding the privately owned helicopter is used for tours typically. It's not clear what caused the accident, but both the FAA and the NTSB will be on site to investigate the crash.
This morning, an investigation is underway in Houston after a helicopter struck a radio tower Sunday night. The fiery explosion caught on camera. 4 people on board were killed, including a child.
All units respond to the helicopter crash, Engle Street and North Ennis.
The noise of the impact alerted firefighters at a station less than a mile away. They responded in minutes.
This is a tragic event tonight. It's a tragic loss of life.
The fireball seen from miles away ignited a blaze on the ground that spread 3 blocks. The crash happened in a residential area, barely missing a gas tank nearby.
We were very fortunate that it didn't topple in one direction or another, and the fireball pretty much was isolated.
Authorities say the aircraft, a private tour helicopter, departed from Ellington Field Airport, about 20 miles away. Its final destination remains unclear.
The preliminary information that we're getting either struck a cable or actually struck the tower.
This morning, authorities urging residents to report any pieces of the wreckage to assist with their investigation.
If you do see components of the aircraft and whatnot, make sure that you don't touch it. Call 911.
So far, the names of the victims have not been released, Joe. Authorities are working to notify their families.
All right, Stephanie, thank you so much. Let's check in on your Monday forecast with meteorologist Michelle Grossman, who I think has the best job in the building this week.
I know. Yes, for once, right, Joe? I think we deserve this after the weeks we've had, and we are looking at a really nice forecast, not only today, but really throughout most of the work week. Very, very quiet, so happy to deliver this forecast. Let's talk about the October warmth. That's the biggest story as we go throughout the day. Temperatures 10, 20, 30 degrees above normal from New England to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, all the way through the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even into the Northern Plains. We're looking at temperatures into the 70s and 80s, chasing October records. We have a few problem spots, but not big problems. We're looking at the chance for some stronger storms and a little bit of rain throughout portions of the Central Plains. That includes Nebraska, also Kansas. And then looking at a stronger system moving onshore in the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring some rain and also some mountain snow. Otherwise, we are really quiet across the country today and most of this week with lots of sunshine. This is Wednesday. Still a lot of sunshine across the country and still really warm throughout the Northern Plains. We're going to start to come back to normal by Thursday and especially on Friday, but still above average on Wednesday throughout parts of New England. By Friday, still very, very quiet. Lots of sunshine throughout the south, even into the southwest. There's the west storm. We're going to look at a series of fronts moving onshore, and we're looking at some rain, some mountain snow there once again. That's Friday. Northern Plains, Midwest, Great Lakes looking good. Could see a smidge of some rain into parts of the Great Lakes, and then lots of sunshine throughout the Northeast and also New England. Really pleasant conditions. Let's talk about the biggest weather story of the day, and we are looking at temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Minneapolis, 26 degrees above normal for this time of year, into the low 80s. Hopefully the shorts are still out. You need the sunglasses with that full sunshine today. Chicago, 83. Buffalo, 72. Philadelphia, warm too, 81 degrees. That's well above normal. Another really warm day tomorrow. Temperatures into the 70s, the 80s. And it's not just the Northeast. It's not just the Great Lakes. Most of the country is above normal on Tuesday. Rochester, 24 degrees above normal, 81 degrees. 81 in Nashville, 82 in St. Louis. And we're looking at 77 degrees in Nashville. So as we go throughout the later part of the week, this is where we kind of come back to reality, but still really pleasant with lots of sunshine, dry throughout the Northeast, New England. Temperatures a little more fall-like by Thursday and Friday. New York City, 63, 60 on Friday, and we're into the 50s and 60s in Chicago by Thursday and Friday as well. So there's your little reality check by later on in the week. Let's head into the tropics because we're still talking about Tropical Storm Oscar. Winds at 45 miles per hour. It's moving at a crawl west at 2 miles per hour. Most of us are walking faster than that. So it's taking its time over Cuba. That's going to continue the impacts there with some flash flooding, really heavy rainfall, the chance for mudslides there. As a result, we do have tropical alerts dotting the eastern part of Cuba and also parts of the Bahamas. So it will impact Cuba today. And then by tomorrow into the Bahamas, we have some tropical storm warnings. That's in the orange and tropical storm watch for parts of the Bahamas, at least the eastern parts. And then it's out of here into the central Atlantic. That is good news. By Wednesday, it's going to take that northeast track and not impacting the states. Satellite radar really quiet this morning. We do have that little complex of storms moving throughout parts of Nebraska and Kansas, and that's going to be the story throughout the day. Could see some stronger storms, and there's that front moving into the Pacific Northwest, bringing that wet weather there. Otherwise, we are dry across the country. So probably the biggest story besides the temperature will be these series of fronts moving into the Pacific Northwest.
All right. Sounds good, Michelle. Thank you so much. Sure. Much more to come on this Monday edition of Morning News Now. Later in the hour, we're going to take a closer look at some concerning new statistics on breast cancer in younger women. Why some doctors say going through puberty at an early age might be to blame for rising rates. But first, the tributes pouring in across the globe to the late Liam Payne and what an initial autopsy might tell us about the singer's final moments before that fatal fall. Those stories and more next. We're back now with more on the sudden death of former One Direction band member Liam Payne. The singer died last week Well, the initial autopsy report provided some answers. His death is still under investigation. For the latest, let's bring in NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas, who has some new details on the investigation. Chloe, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Local authorities are still piecing together the timeline that led up to Payne's fatal fall and whether or not anyone else was responsible for the singer's untimely end, all while the world gathers and mourns a young and talented artist gone too soon. An emotional vigil with fans mourning Liam Payne in London Sunday.
This is a grief, and the one thing that directors know how to do is come together as a family.
Payne, whose sudden death last week rocked the world, found global stardom as a member of One Direction.
And every jaw drop when she's in those jeans, alright.
Former bandmate Zayn Malik calling Payne a brother and postponing the U.S. leg of his tour because of the heartbreaking loss. Posting in part, "Love you all and thank you for your understanding." Geoff Payne, Liam's father, seen in Buenos Aires Friday at the hotel where his son fell to his death from the third-floor balcony of his room. His father reportedly at the Argentinian hotel to help collect his son's belongings. While authorities are still awaiting the toxicology report, an initial autopsy found that Payne could have fallen in a state of semi or total unconsciousness. In a 911 call obtained by Telemundo from local media, a hotel staff member can be heard requesting for police assistance with an intoxicated hotel guest who was breaking the whole room. Local authorities confirmed that the call was in reference to Payne, taking place just minutes before he fell. The tragic details coming to light as more tributes pour in from those closest to Payne. One Direction co-creator Simon Cowell writing, "I am truly devastated, heartbroken, and I feel empty." Girlfriend Kate Cassidy, who was with Payne in Buenos Aires just days before his death, addressing the singer directly on Instagram, writing, "I want you to know I loved you, unconditionally and completely. I will continue to love you for the rest of my life." And Cheryl Cole, mother of Payne's 7-year-old son Bear, making a plea. Please give Liam the little dignity he has left in the wake of his death to rest in some peace at last. So everyone is waiting for the results, Joe, of the toxicology screening, which in Argentina can take a little over a week to process. Once those results are in, his family and his dad, who's currently there in Buenos Aires, his dad was photographed over the weekend at the hotel where he fell. They can then take over. They can work on funeral arrangements back in the UK. And the British Embassy told NBC News in a statement this morning that they are working with Liam Payne's family and liaisoning between his family and local authorities there. So we're just waiting for those results right now.
And of course, that is so important to the family to be able to do that. All right, Chloe, thank you so much for that update. Appreciate it. Let's get some international headlines, starting with the latest from the war in Ukraine. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Labanga is in Rome with that and some other world news. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. The Ukrainian military says it downed about 59 out of 116 Russian drones overnight and said that about 45 of them likely fell into Ukrainian territory. Now, this is the second overnight wave of drones launched by Russia in a row. Ukrainian officials say that 10 of the drones targeted the capital, Kyiv, and while none of them hit their targets, falling debris damaged residential buildings and injured at least one man. Monday's attack comes after officials say at least 17 people were injured in Ukraine during a similar drone attack on Sunday. Let's go to Cuba now, where the power grid is slowly being restored after a countrywide blackout left millions of people in the dark since Friday. The power outage was caused by the collapse of one of the country's major power plants, leaving the vast majority of Cuba's 10 million residents without power. As a consequence, since Friday, the government closed schools and non-essential industry, and most state workers have been sent home. Officials say they are working to fix the problem, but did not specify the cause of the power plant failure. And let's end this tour of the world in New Zealand, where one of the country's international airports imposed a 3-minute limit on hugs in its drop-off zone. At least according to a new sign that has appeared in Dunedin Airport, which also suggests to use the car park for, and I quote, fonder farewells. The airport's CEO pointed to studies suggesting a 20-second hug is enough to burst the love hormone oxytocin. Now compare that, Joe, to the international airport in Rome, where there is a drop-off zone called Kiss and Go, and you can stay there about 15 minutes. Now imagine the amount of love hormone that kissing for about 15 minutes can release.
Of course you have the longest, time period for that. That makes sense, right?
Do you know what they say? Once in, when in Rome, kiss for about 15 minutes before saying goodbye.
I like that. All right. Claudia, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up, the concerning rise in breast cancer cases in younger women. After the break, why some experts say hitting puberty at an early age could be to blame. The doctor is in next on Morning News Now. A death row inmate in Texas is scheduled to appear before lawmakers today after he was spared from execution in a last-minute legal twist. Robert Robertson was said to be the first person in the country to be executed for a shaken baby death. On Thursday, the state Supreme Court halted his execution after a bipartisan group of lawmakers subpoenaed Robertson to testify in an effort to buy him more time.
We believe this to be an innocent man where the facts have not come out, and we're hoping this hearing will give that opportunity for the people of Texas to finally hear the facts.
Robertson has maintained his innocence ever since he was convicted back in 2002. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson joins us now from Austin with more on this case. Priscilla, this is a story with a lot of twists. Remind us, first of all, just who Robertson is and why there are now these serious questions about whether he may in fact be innocent.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. So this all started back in 2002 when Robertson says that he found his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, had fallen out of her bed. He took her to the hospital where she was later pronounced dead, and hospital staff told detectives and investigators that they felt the child had been abused and that this might be a case of shaken baby syndrome. Within 24 hours, Robertson was arrested and subsequently found guilty and sentenced to death. However, in the 2 decades that have passed since then, his attorneys have pointed out that his 2-year-old daughter had more than 40 doctor's appointments in her short life, that she had a chronic illness, and that in the days leading up to her death, she had a fever of over 104 degrees. It's also important to note that in 2018, Robertson was diagnosed with autism, which his attorneys say might explain why some of his behavior may have seemed abnormal to investigators at that time. But none of this evidence was considered by a jury or by investigators. And so that is why his attorneys are saying that this case needs to be re-examined. And also because the medical consensus around shaken baby syndrome has changed. And now there's agreement that it could be tied to infectious disease or long-term medical conditions.
Let's talk about what happened last week, Priscilla. How close did Robertson come to being executed? And just explain how lawmakers were able to find this loophole, giving him more time.
Yeah, Joe, it was completely unprecedented. We were outside of the prison waiting to see what was going to happen as all of this came down. And so, as you noted, on the eve of that execution, lawmakers in Texas subpoenaed Robertson to testify before them in person. And then they went to the courts on the day of his execution and said, we need a temporary restraining order. You have got to stop this so that he can appear before us. A lower court judge approved that temporary restraining order. But then the attorney general, and that happened, I should point out, an hour and a half before this execution was set to get underway. Then the attorney general appealed it. And so the execution was back on after the Court of Appeals upheld that. But ultimately, the Texas Supreme Court stepped in and upheld the restraining order. So the execution was officially off at that point so that Robertson could testify before this committee today.
So what's this going to look like today? Will we actually see Robertson testify, and then what comes after today?
Well, that remains an open question because over the weekend, the attorney general here actually filed an appeal with the Texas Supreme Court, arguing, one, that they do not have the jurisdiction to uphold this temporary restraining order and that the legislature is trying to wield clemency power, which is only held by the governor. But they're also saying that if Robertson must appear, he can do so virtually, that it is not safe for the Criminal Justice Department to bring a death row inmate to the Capitol. There's nowhere to hold him here until his testimony. And so there are a lot of safety issues. And Robertson's attorneys tell us that they want him to appear in person because of his autism, because he doesn't have familiarity using something like Zoom. And so they say that they will make him available to appear in person. So we could see a standoff here, but they're asking the Supreme Court to weigh in by noon today before that hearing gets underway. Joe?
All right. Priscilla, we know you'll be there. Thank you so much. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This morning, we're shining a light on the concerning increase in younger women being diagnosed with the disease. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds that breast cancer rates in women under 50 have risen by more than 15% in the last 2 decades. Although the reason for this is not clear, some doctors believe it could be because of women experiencing puberty at an earlier age. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us now for more on this. Dr. Azar, good morning. Let's start by explaining why some people do think there is this link with early puberty. This has to do with one type of the disease called estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, right?
Yeah, that's right. So of that number, of that 15% rise in breast cancer over the last 2 decades, Joe, the vast majority of them, about 75% of them, are what we refer to as estrogen or progesterone receptor positive. That means they are breast cancers that are driven largely by exposure to hormones, and in this case, specifically estrogen. And what investigators are trying to do in this situation is to say we have 2 things that we know are happening. We know that breast cancer is occurring at an earlier age, and we know that puberty is happening at an earlier age, breast development as well as the onset of your first menstrual period. So how could these 2 things be related? And so obviously one explanation is that there's a longer time of exposure to estrogen for these women who are starting puberty early, Joe.
This increase in breast cancer, it's also been linked to women having children later in life. Talk about the theory behind that.
Yeah, so, you know, that the thing that's interesting about this is that we have known for a very long time that early puberty or early, age of onset of your first period, not having children, and a later menopause are all risk factors for breast cancer. Again, because of that exposure, that longer duration of exposure to hormone and specifically estrogen. But this is the first time that investigators are actually trying to link early puberty with early age of onset, this breast cancer under the age of 50. And that's what kind of is making this new sort of lens on this hormone association so interesting, because we're seeing such a rise in breast cancer cases in women under the age of 50.
How about things like obesity and sedentary lifestyles? How are they impacting this rise in breast cancer among younger women?
Exactly. So hormone is just one piece of the puzzle, if you will. So what's interesting about obesity is that we know that there are a lot of cancers that are related to obesity. For breast cancer, it's actually postmenopausal exposure. So as much as we like to sort of try to invoke obesity as a risk factor for breast cancer, and we do, it's really not for early onset breast cancer. But other things in your environment, definitely diet, lifestyle, alcohol, for sure. And a big one that researchers and breast cancer experts are interested in looking at, Joe, are environmental exposures to what we call endocrine disruptors. That is things in our environment that are actually perturbing that very delicate balance of hormone and potentially increasing the impact of estrogen on breast tissue.
Important topic. Dr. Natalie Azar, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, coming up, grab your popcorn, folks, because this year's World Series is shaping up to be a clash of the baseball titans. The Dodgers and the Yankees punching their respective tickets to the big show. Got a preview of all the action next. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's get some financial headlines, starting with a possible highly priced sale for Boeing. CNBC's Silvana Henao has that and some other dollar sign headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good Monday morning to you. Yeah, so Boeing is reportedly exploring the sale of some assets to bring in much needed cash for the struggling aircraft maker and defense contractor. And that's even as the company reached a tentative deal with its largest union to potentially end a more than month-long strike by factory workers on the West Coast. The Wall Street Journal says Boeing's new CEO has moved to raise at least $10 billion in cash and cut thousands of jobs to stem losses that have magnified its manufacturing woes and impacted a massive supply chain. Perplexity AI, that's a startup backed by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, is reportedly in talks to raise new funding that could value the company at $8 billion or more. Perplexity's search tools lets users get instant answers to questions with sources and citations. Earlier this month, it received a cease and desist order from the New York Times demanding it stop using the newspaper's content to train its AI model. And more than 80% of holiday travelers say they're changing their plans because of inflation. A Bankrate survey finds nearly a third of people anticipate traveling fewer days than they would have otherwise, while 30% are picking less expensive accommodations and/or destinations. More than a quarter say they're driving instead of flying, and another quarter are choosing cheaper activities. The average cost to fly for Thanksgiving is expected to be $925 and even higher at more than $1,100 for the December holidays.
Wait,
Joe.
Is that per person?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm staying home.
Now. Yeah. All right. I don't blame you. Thanks a lot. Coming up, the power of pink. After the break, actress Jenna Fischer opens up to our own Hoda Kotb on her journey with breast cancer. Stay with us. That's next. Finally this hour, you probably recognize her as the quirky and beloved receptionist from the hit show The Office. Well, not long ago, the actress Jenna Fischer revealed that she's battling breast cancer. This morning, in her very first interview since that announcement, she's opening up to today's Hoda Kotb, revealing that the jumpstart for getting her life-changing diagnosis came while she was scrolling on social media.
I called my husband and I said, Lee, I think it's cancer. And I was like, but what? I don't know what it means. And so it began.
Jenna Fischer is the beloved star of the long-running hit TV show The Office.
I feel God in this Chili's tonight.
She played Pam, the co-worker we all felt we knew. When the show ended, she went on to create the hugely popular podcast Office Ladies with her castmate Angela Kinsey. On it, they share the behind the scenes of the show and co-star antics. But it was exactly 1 year ago that life changed. Using her platform for good, she posted a powerful message to her fans on social media, writing, "Schedule your mammogram. Got mine done today. Got to take care of those ticking time bags, ladies." Her message takes your breath away, given the road ahead.
So here you are living your life in such a beautiful way, and you're kind of skipping through the flowers, it seems like, in life.
Thriving.
Thriving. And isn't it so crazy how on Monday everything's great, and then on Tuesday everything falls apart?
It was crazy because I went in for my routine mammogram. It's that annoying appointment that I'd been putting off. 3 weeks later, they said, there were a few spots that were difficult to see. You have very dense tissue. We would recommend that you do another mammogram and maybe follow up with a breast ultrasound.
So was that for you an alarming thing, or was it an eye roll?
It was a total eye roll. This is why I would put this off, because now I have to go back again. After the ultrasound, they said, well, we found something. We're going to need to do a biopsy.
So did you worry when they said that?
Not really.
Not really.
When I was getting the biopsy, the mood changed, and that's when I got nervous.
So this is one of those weird things that you're refreshing a portal constantly?
Yeah, for like 2 days.
Okay, no.
So I was on a hike. I checked the portal on the hike, and that's when I saw words like invasive ductal carcinoma, malignant, you know, and I was like, those words sound like cancer words.
Doctors ran several more tests, and just a month after that mammogram Jenna almost didn't go to, she was diagnosed with stage 1 triple positive breast cancer, a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer.
I knew I would be having surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and then targeted therapies of Herceptin and tamoxifen, which I'm still doing now. I still have my port, which is where I got my chemo. It's where I get my Herceptin. I'll do that until like February of next year.
Fischer says one of her greatest challenges was sharing the news with her children.
They're 10 and they're 13, and the biggest thing that I wanted them to know was that any ways that I seemed sick during this process were side effects of treatments. They weren't cancer making me sick.
Oh,
they were side effects. And then we just kind of did it together, and they were amazing. And my husband Lee was absolutely incredible. A typical morning for us would be both of us getting up in the morning and making school lunches and doing school drop-offs. But under the circumstances, the most, oh my gosh, now I'm getting emotional about it. But, you know, the most I could do was just get downstairs and sit at the table with a cup of coffee. And he did all the rest.
For every woman who I've ever known who went through this, it's like just this, your hair.
The hair. Yeah. I mean, when they told me I had to have chemo, the first thing I thought was, I don't want to throw up and I don't want to lose my hair. Yeah. I did not throw up, but I did lose my hair. And so I started by having just like a big bald patch down this side of my head. Yeah. And I would kind of comb over, do like a real elaborate comb over. Like I was like, oh, I understand why the gentlemen do this now, I guess. But I never had a big shave your head moment.
No. Another decision Jenna made was to continue her podcast with Angela Kinsey, who is also her real-life best friend.
From the beginning, she said, whatever you need, you tell me, I'm here. And I said, I want to keep working and I don't want anyone to know. At work. At work, I want that to be a space where we go and we laugh and I'm not a cancer patient. I need that. And she said, okay. And when I started to lose my hair, I would wear my hats with my hair coming out. We called them wiggets. Wig hats. Wiggets.
Oh, that's so cute.
And she started wearing hats to work so that I wouldn't be the only person in a work meeting wearing a hat.
You know what that is? That's love.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
Sometimes I feel like the world after a diagnosis just snaps clearly into focus.
All of the most important things became so clear so quickly. And also, I'll say, I find the world to be such a beautiful place in all of its quirkiness and even things that used to irritate me. Yeah. Now I sometimes find charming, like, you know, just traffic. Like, oh, look at you, cute traffic. Look at all the people just going places. Oh, that guy's mad.
After surgery, radiation, and 12 rounds of chemo, doctors shared there was no evidence of cancer.
Did you ring the bell after your last treatment?
Can you believe this? My infusion center didn't have a bell.
Okay. Okay.
No bell.
What are they thinking?
That's what I said. So my husband Lee said, what do you want to do to celebrate being done with chemo? And I said, I want a bell. I want to ring a bell in the backyard, and I want confetti.
Did you do it?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, can I tell you something? Okay, so after my surgery, I'm, you know, recovering. I watched the Today Show. I got up out of bed and I sat on the bench at the end of my bed with a cup of coffee and my big old pillow. And I would watch you and Savannah and Jenna and all the fellas. And you kept me company. And I thought, if I ever get a chance to tell this story, I want to talk to you. Because I know that there's a lady right now who's sitting on a bench at the end of her bed with her pillow. And she's wondering, what's next for me? And I just want to be like, no. You're going to get off that bench.
Just like this girl right here.
I did. You're going to get your life back. You're not even going to believe all the beauty and wonder that is ahead of you through this journey.
Our thanks to Hoda for that interview. Jenna urges women to stay on top of their mammograms. Doctors told her if she had waited just 6 more months, her story could have been very different. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.